Did you know what I'm saying? It's what people like Ken and I do. You know, you don't want to model it, you want to study it. You want to keep it in the zoo. So, the feminine, on the other hand, in the moment, in every moment, this moment, is our capacity to actually identify with form. Now, I'm much more masculine, so anything I say is always going to be perverted by that subtle identification, but that's my art. So, to be perverted. So, when you're allowing yourself to identify with the feminine side, that which is moving, then you find, it's not like you go, now I'm in my feminine, or something like that. You spontaneously relax as form, as energy. You feel people, you move with those people immediately. You are motion itself. There's no motive to bring that motion to an end. The feminine has no motive toward peace, spaciousness. None! I don't know. I mean, think about it yourself. How many of you, you're with your lover and you want to sit there in silence for 3 days and not look at each other? That's me, but not you. If you're identified with the feminine. That's literally what I do. I spend as much time alone. Well, so the feminine as a being. I mean, let's say a human, it doesn't have to be a human. You could do this in dream forms, so in the subtle level. You could do this with animals. So there's different levels. We'll get to that. But when you identify with the feminine, you are immediately, in that moment, motion itself. You are emotion, internally, and motion, externally. So when any human in here, man or woman, relaxes to consent to be formed fully, they are in that moment what I call, and again, this is just art. I could be wrong. I don't care if I'm wrong. It's the flower I'm painting. I mean, if it's inspiring, great. If you want to toss it, great. But when you identify with the feminine, you find yourself alive as light, and you relate to everyone as light. You have no desire to bring something to an end. You're not going towards silence. Most spiritual traditions, obviously, that we're aware of, were founded by men. The ones that we have inherited, there are plenty founded by women, but it's because women don't write things down and try to codify them. Well, the feminine doesn't write things down and try to codify them. They don't get transmitted intact. They're all oral traditions. So you got people like whatever, Buddha, Jesus, 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. Yeah, the feminine idea of a great time. Why would anyone who natively identifies more with the feminine want to do these strange-ass masculine witness shit stuff? So, now, again, I speak this way for fun, really, but I do more of the witness kind of practices. I also do a lot of feminine practices, so it's good to do both. It's for everybody. But I wanted you to feel emotionally what you're getting into here, because we're trying to lead up to yogic sex and maybe even spiritual realization in the midst of sex. But to do that, you need to be clear about what sex is. And what sex is the replication through two bodies of conscious light as one, recognizing itself through another as two, masculine, feminine, observer, observed, dancer, beholder. Unless two people are willing to play those roles completely, you don't even start yogic practice. You're doing therapy, which is good. I do therapy on myself and with others all the time. So again, in the kind of art that I'm offering you, I'm going to put a spin kind of poo-pooing therapy only to contrast it to what I'm trying to talk about. But believe me, I'm as messed up and currently working on my messed upness as much as anybody here. So I'm a great believer in skillful means in therapy, but I'm going to purposely kind of compare things to it. So, what does that mean? Two bodies, two or more bodies, one body, dream bodies, going, there is no other. Hello, light. Yes, it's the dance that is happening right now. This light dancing, sound, by light I mean all energy, capital E, capital L, light energy, happening, dancing, moving right now, or as this. And there's also a part that has never changed. There's a part of you right now that is continuous with your entire life. When you were 2 years old, that one was there. That one's there right now, even though I referred to it a few seconds ago, and everything else has changed. So the part of you that's the same is what I call the masculine side. So to have yogic sex, you need to be able to play through your body those two forms. Now, you could be two men doing it together, two women, a man and a woman. You could do it with physical objects. You could do it in relationship to the divine altogether. I mean, there's, again, we could get into the refinements of it over time. I ask people, like, so what is your relationship? And they'll say things like, well, I'm in an open relationship. It's very spiritual. I'm a woman. I have two men friends that I have sex with, and then a third that watches my children when I'm with them. And then it's like, well, does that work out for you? And they're like, oh yeah, it works out. And then it's like, okay, back to therapy. But they're yogically, again, you want to play with the extremes, or artistically, you want to play with the extremes. That includes sexual extremes only if you want to make sexual art. It's not for everybody. I mean, I don't know, do you know any really good musicians? Do you know what it takes to be a really good musician? Do you know how much you have to practice just to be spontaneous? I mean, to be a really good musician, painter, dancer, it's constant discipline, so that the spontaneous ecstasy can arise without any conditioning whatsoever. Constant work, so it's all effortless and spontaneous in the giving of it. Is that how you want to approach your sexuality? Karmically, that's how I had to. I don't know. Maybe I won't have to again. Maybe I will. So I'm sharing that with you. But if you're not motivated to do that, do not approach sexuality as an art. Just, get your rocks off, feel affection, make it like nice massage, good friends, looking into each other's eyes deeply and exchanging love. But if you want to make it into art, if you want to make it into yoga, if you do, not necessary for spiritual growth to do so, not necessarily necessary to do anything for spiritual growth. If you want to make it into an art, you must be able to play the extremes through the body, all extremes, all sexual extremes. Not because sexual extremes are good. It's just like if you're a musician, you want to practice the extremes of a scale on a guitar, on a piano. You've got to play. You've got to go, oh, can't do that. That's my boundary there. You push the edges. So artistically, sex is the same thing. Now, again, not all people are up to that. Not all people have the fortitude, the disposition, the perversion to create art out of their sexuality. Just like most don't through music or painting. But everyone here wants to practice, I'm guessing. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to practice sexually, what that means to me is making art out of your sexuality, not therapy. You must do therapy, too. That's your business. So how do you play those extremes sexually? Well, they're not types. They're modes of being in the moment that any being can manifest. So what would it be through the body to be consciousness? How would you breathe? I mean, just now your breath's changed just when I said that. What would happen to your posture? If you were making love, full-fledged sexual intercourse, let's say, and let's say you were doing your best to offer the art of eternal, unchanging consciousness through your body, breath, and mind, how would that look? And would that look different than if you were doing your best to manifest the motion of the universe through your body? Would they be different? That's why you need therapy. They fucking better be different. I mean, if your body can't, you need to beat your body, tenderize your body, take it through the scales, the painting, do whatever practice you need to do so you could be the wind, the sun, the stars, the cosmic, flow of life at any time you want, and so responsive. The light, the feminine, is responsiveness. So if someone touches you, the whole being responds. That's the feminine in men and women. The feminine is life force, light, energy, in total communion with all life force. So it's, as you know, those of you who are more identified with the feminine, you're with a sexual partner, me, let's say. I was going to say Eli, but I picked on him already. So, and your sexual partner comes in and he goes like, do some sexual yoga. Okay? I mean, do you want to? How many ladies in here would go, yes, yes, you know, you'd be disgusted. You'd be turned off. Or, you know, I might be exaggerating, but you'd be going, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So, why? Why? How about if he's sincere? How about if this guy's genuinely sincere? Well, therapeutically, it doesn't make sense. Therapeutically, you would go, well, yes, there's a part of me that wants to have sex. There's another part of me that when you do this, I feel this way, think this way, I want to do this. And can you repeat that back to me so I can make sure that you understand what I'm trying to say? And you have a kind of full spectrum communication about sexuality. Nobody wants to fuck each other, let alone surrender as the cosmic being in the body. So how does that which never changes, but not philosophically, you have to feel it in the moment. How does that come through that which changes? Your body, your breath, your mind. That's the masculine side of sexuality, man or woman. How do you transmit, like, boom, the spontaneous recognition that nothing's ever happened, and this is that, through our bodies. Yes, yes, yes. And the other partner, because this is two parts of a whole, is everything is only happening. You know, not in words, but in, you know, like, yeah. So somebody, you know, your masculine partner comes up to you. I'd like to do our yogic sexual practice now. And you feel, if you're in your feminine, just that's energetically offensive. I don't know how else to say it. At the artistic level, it sucks. At the therapeutic level, you got to give space for everyone to do whatever they need to, and you communicate about it. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're into sexual therapy and your boyfriend walks up to you and is just like, you know, you're like, I love you just the way you are. I accept you just the way you are. This is how I feel, and you do this, you know, blah, blah, blah. At the artistic level, your boyfriend comes, you just say like, fuck that, or I don't know what you'd say. Oh, fuck you, are you mad? I don't know, I mean, I'm adding words. But it's an artistic drama. And then if his strength, and I'm using him and her, it could again be two men, two women, it's totally gender independent. The masculine partner in that moment, and you could change every 5 seconds if that's the way you want your relationships, and we'll get into all the nuances. But whoever's playing the masculine partner that is identified as unchanging, I am here, you are here. And then the femme's like, but, and so if, so here's this guy, he's sincere, he's trying, you know, he wants to practice, but he's energetically, I don't know what, slurpy, what did you say? Constipated. Well, at the artistic level, you gotta open the flow. So here comes this masculine partner. He acts like he's the witness. I'd like to have sex with you, but would you please calm down first? Breathe, breathe. Let's breathe together. Inhale, breathe, let go. Okay. Inhale, receive all pain into your being, and release light to everyone. Let's do a few rounds of that together, then maybe. That whole approach is so bleh. I mean, it doesn't. What would you, just let me ask the ladies here perhaps, if you were with a guy and you loved him, and he came to you to practice sexual yoga, and he came to you, you know, oh, that feels so potent. What is your spontaneous response? What would your bodily go? So the one woman, yeah, smack, kick. How therapeutic is that? You know, like, hi dear. Not recommended for therapy. Bad. But for art, necessary. So even, let's just start there. How many people are willing to be physically violent during sex? If you're not, you can't do yoga. Now, I don't mean hurt, injure each other, but certainly spank, bite, pinch, wrestle, a little mauling now and then. Perhaps a well-placed slap every now and then. But again, these things have to be in the right context. It's like, we're creating art together? Yes, let's do it. Then you're painting together, as opposed to, are you okay? Let me help you. Therapy. So your twerp boyfriend comes to you. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why I'm using this as an example. Well, if you have a therapeutically based relationship, let's say, then you give them space and you talk about it. You let them know how you feel about it and all of that. If you have a yogically/artistically based sexual relationship, you play with it. This person comes in, what a moron! You know, move them, scream, slap, spit, cry, laugh, jump on them. You know, like, I'm the witness. I'm the witness. Down boy! You're like, oh. Now, please, breathe with me. So the masculine partner is always trying to draw the feminine partner into his, and I'm using his non-genderly, but he's always trying to draw the feminine into his domain of peace. I have the big view. I have the comprehensive view. Relax. Slow down, relax. That's masculine fascism. Useful. Now the feminine, of course, is one-sidedly just as no! God, it's a beautiful day. What were we talking about? The feminine is so attuned to the elements that the elements, the flow of life, take priority over this idea that the goal is to be a witness or something. So the feminine is always reflecting how open the masculine is. I could say this another way, I suppose. It's the masculine's responsibility to be deep, masculine partner. Because the feminine will be right there with the masculine partner. But it's the feminine partner's responsibility to be full of life, flow, light, energy. Because the masculine partner without that is like, I'm going to practice my breathing exercises now. Do you feel centered? That's insane. So what sexual yoga is based on is the freedom to embody consciousness and light or energy freely, fully, wetly, violently, peacefully, sublimely, through every shade, through every spectrum. That's a lot of work. So you don't want to do that unless you want to do that. I mean, don't start picking, don't try to play Rachmaninoff or something if really all you want to do is play chopsticks. It's a lot of fucking work to get there. So does anyone want to try that? I mean, in your life, we'll see what we can do here. But I mean, now that I've kind of laid that out, my guess is that most of you wouldn't have the time or inclination or motivation to create your sexuality, to make it into art in particular. I don't mean painting art, I mean the art of living it as a yoga. So you may just go, okay, this is interesting, but not for me. And I would hope that most people would feel that. Yes?
How about just the category of bad art?
A little bad art? Well, what do you mean?
you were saying, where do you want to go? You know, do you want to make art? And I was thinking, well, I might not want to make that art, but I'd like to make a little bad art.
Like John Waters?
Yeah, just something kind of shitty and crappy, but you know, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, good. Well, I do too. So that but that motivation is still there to make something from it, to create, because there may not be that motivation. And that's important. I don't want people to feel that this is some necessary thing, or it's not.
Is it the case that you have to have a masculine and a feminine, even two women, two men, but someone has to play that role?
No.
Can you not have yogic sex with two feminine selves?
You could have yogic sex with no body at all, so I'm not sure what you're asking. You could have dream bodies. You could be dreaming, think you're a dog, and have yogic sex as a dog's body.
But you keep talking about the interplay of the masculine self and the feminine self.
No, I'm talking about this moment. There's a part of this moment that's moving, right? That's her. And there's a part of this moment that's not moving, or that's always the same moment. That's him. So I'm not talking about your masculine feminine self or my masculine feminine self. Again, that's a type, and I understand that completely. It's a good way of looking at it. It's just not my way of looking at it. So what I'm trying to do is help all of us feel that this moment is sex. I don't mean genital sex. This moment's the Big Bang. I don't know how you want to say it. This moment is, you wouldn't notice anything unless you were conscious. And you wouldn't notice anything unless there was something to notice. You must have him and her, observe and observe. That's the nature of experience. If there is experience, there is a him and a her. In description, this is just but it's not a type within each of us. It's also a type within each of us. That's not what I'm talking about. So the question I think you said is, do you need another? No. You could do all of these by yourself. You could do all of these without the self you call yourself. But you call yourself that self, so you got to start there. And thinking about anything else is a form of avoidance. So if you came to me and said, teach me, show me what you got. You know, like, teach me yogic sexuality or something. And you said, and I would like to learn to do it alone or however. I would say, great, first show me you could do it with that person now. And you go, no. And I'd say, then you can't do it alone. It's a test. I mean, if you can't, so here are the two extremes. Again, these are extremes. These are black and whites. I'm exaggerating to make a point in our short time together. If we spent a month together, it would be very refined. Can you have, I don't know, essentially open-ended orgasms through your whole body, undulating in your way, making the sounds that would come through your body, more or less sustain that for unconfined periods of time? If you can, then you're ready to play the feminine part with yourself. Can you sustain total recognition of no change? These are all words. In the midst of someone doing you sexually harder, faster, and more stimulating than you've ever had before. If you can't, if you get lost in that. So the masculine partner must learn to recognize and relax his consciousness while their body is being extremely stimulated and while their partner is going wild in any direction. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I love you, I love you, I love you. All of it. I'm here, you are here, I love you. Bam, 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 bam. The breath deepens, the whole moment deepens. You begin breathing together, you can trust that. And now whoever's playing the feminine can expand the feminine because they don't have to worry about the other person grabbing it, pulling away, reacting, because they're just totally present, feeling every dimension of you. A good masculine partner feels you deeper than you can feel you. That's the point of having a partner. I would say that if you can't go deeper with a partner, do it yourself. Because partners add so much complication. It's the masculine. So, yours too. So, the masculine, of course, always wants to be independent of themselves, be self-sufficient and autonomous. That's your masculine desire. That would inhibit your capacity to play the feminine, which is to surrender, to be moved as this energy spontaneously, fully, with no control at all. Untamed, universal love force coming through every cell. I would want to see that you can do that like that, and then I'd say, good, now let's try it within one body.
Are there ways for the feminine to evoke a more masculine state in their partner?
Yes. Now, there are therapeutic ways and yogic ways. Yogically, you magnetize your opposite sexually. So the way you evoke the identification of the masculine in your partner is by you deepening the strength of your display of the feminine. Show him how much of life's pleasure you could sustain through your body in a way he could see it. Because pleasure in a feminine human's body is much more pleasurable to the masculine human than his own. Really? Men, raise your hand if you agree. Okay, see, look around you. I mean, it's really much. And just knowing that your display of universal pleasure, your display of the leaves and the trees and the sunshine and the stars and the cosmos and every dimension, not just the visible dimension, but every dimension coming through you. So he touches you, it's like, and he's like, he will bow, he will worship that. He is spontaneously moved. Worship is the appropriate sexual response in the yogic dimension. So when he witnesses your uninhibited display of life's pleasure through the body, through your voice, through your mind, through every dimension of your being, he will either run, if he's not up for it, or just like, what the hell, you know, or, you know, not worship in a weak way, but just like, ooh, Lord. You know, like, so there's many nuances and details and practices that we could get into over months and months of time, but the basic thing is to understand that he's waiting to worship the divine feminine through your form if he identifies more with the masculine. So he will find his divinity in his worship of yours, and vice versa, of course. So another part of the yogic aspect is the capacity to worship, to show devotion through the body to the part that you've relinquished. So like you relinquish the masculine identification in the moment so that your partner can take on that masculine identification and offer it to you as a gift through their body. And you are offering as a gift through your body their relinquished feminine temporarily. And then in that, you've kind of teased the two apart. And the farther you tease them apart, the more intense the dynamic. So if you're both kind of similar, neutral, talking about things, there's not a lot of dynamic. It's a depolarized, kind of neutralized thing. But the more deeply conscious the masculine partner becomes, and the more untamed and fully expressive and responsive the feminine partner becomes, the more, you know, the big bang of the moment is a big bang instead of a little. Again, unnecessary for spiritual realization. Just a yogic artistic perversion for some people who enjoy to take their sexuality and open it into yogic art. Imagine that you are in your deepest heart. So feel what your motive would be, let's say sexually, like you're with your lover. Mm-hmm. And you are in your deepest heart, the deepest motive you can find for being, for loving. Do you know what I mean by that? You don't have to answer what that is, but just, so you're not being a flighty bimbo, so you're being the most deep, devotional, open, sourced in fullness human being that you can in the moment. So you're coming from this place of huge depth. He is too, let's say. Now, in that depth, so I'm not talking about some Jerry Springer version. I'm talking about, you know, serious practitioners really loving each other, totally committed to a lifetime of practice, and you know, the deepest commitment and love that we can establish. So you're there with each other, and your partner Goes like this. Does that affect you? That does not affect him. So if you go, he'll go, what? And if you go, he'll go, something's wrong. What are you trying to say? Now you're off into therapy land. Because the feminine is the cosmos. It's not, try to relax the bimbo thing. The feminine disconnected from the depth of your heart is the bimbo. So let's say we go bimbo, businesswoman, devotional woman. Okay? So you go bimbo, like you were kind of, not exactly, but I'm exaggerating. And then you go to the, well, I'm not just a body, I'm much deeper than this, I'm a whole person. I'd like you to appreciate me as a whole person. So that's, that's the kind of growth that you do. It's just like, that's just a little part of me. That's not all of me. I don't always just want to be this. And I would never suggest that, but somehow people keep thinking that because that's what's in their mind, I guess. But so there's the bimbo kind of thing, which is a form of light. It's the Jerry Springer example of like, look at me, I'm so pretty, look at me. That kind of thing. And all of us have that within us. I do. You don't know how long I spent on my hair today before I came here. No, but you did, right? I mean, you spent some time making sure you were looking good before you came in here. I did. I didn't do so great. You did. So that's what I call these stages, first, second, third stage. But, so the first stage, or Jerry Springer version of femininity, is exactly how you described it, the bimbo. So that woman then goes, I'm much more than this, hopefully. And she grows into being a whole person. And historically, this happened, through the 50s and 60s and stuff, women's lived, but even individually it happens. So you go, well, I'm going to cultivate my mind, I'm going to be full in the world, So you become a whole person, you're not a bimbo. That's an intermediate stage. And then the next stage is what I'm talking about, which is being willing to allow this depth of devotion to come through your body with your partner. Now, you're both sourced there together. You're in deep heart. Because you're in communion as energy, you are affected by it.